Hello, it's Linda the Book Lady, and I'm stopped at the side of the highway today. Just thought I'd show you around a bit. This is what it looks like here in the Klamath River Valley when there's a lot of smoke in the air. We've got forest fires south of us in the Salmon River area. There's the Klamath River. So I was coming along this stretch of highway one night, middle of the night, by myself. This is a long time ago. Saw a mountain lion, a big mountain lion in the middle of the road, and I slowed my car and then slowly went around him. And then later on, like right after I had passed him, I thought, well, why didn't I take a picture? I had a camera sitting right next to me on the driver's seat, and completely did not think about picking it up to take a picture. And people wonder why you don't get pictures of Bigfoot. Well, that's because when people see a Bigfoot, they aren't thinking, oh, let's take a picture. No, they're thinking, get me out of here. Which is what happened when I saw the big mountain lion. Well, it seems we have come to Trailer House Spring. You know, I've passed this way many times and I never noticed this before. I suppose it's one of many places where people could gather water and put it through a filtration system and use it. I would do that. I surely would. Now right over here, oh wait, flowers. Gotta look at the flowers. Oh, they're so pretty. Okay, right over here, we have something painted. It's about the floods that have been here. Okay, that's the 1997 flood. It reached that level. Oh, that was before I even came here. It was 3 years before I moved into this area. And then the one at the bottom is the New Year's Eve flood in 2005, December 31st. And I actually had a role in that flood. Long story, I guess I should tell it. What happened was that my friend needed to see a doctor. He was having some kind of problems with his diabetes or something like that. He was just sick. We knew that the river was flooding, but we decided that he needed to see a doctor, so actually he got into an ambulance and went to Yreka. I followed along in the car knowing that he had to get a ride home after he got out of the emergency room. By the time I got there, he was already out in the parking lot waiting for me. He said that he had been in the emergency room and he just changed his mind about seeing a doctor and walked out. So typical of him. So on the way home from Yreka, the river had risen and we were not able to get through. We got past Klamath River, which is the name of a town that is on the Klamath River. And by the time we got to Horse Creek, we discovered that the river had risen and blocked our way to get back to Klamath River, and it had also risen so high that we couldn't continue on toward Hamburg, which is the next town down that highway. And so we were stuck at Horse Creek along with some other travelers. It was still raining, and we all ended up at the Horse Creek Community Church, which kindly allowed us to stay in their basement that night. We were so cold and miserable. I mean, we were still wet. We had picked up some travelers that came walking out of flood waters with a pizza in their hand. I mean, like a warm pizza. I kid you not. I felt like it was pizza delivery in the flood. And we took them with us to the church. Their car was no longer operational at that point. In fact, They had to ditch that car and buy a new one after the flood because they had driven into flood waters and ruined their car. There was another incident that happened that was it kind of makes me sad. So at one point we had followed a line of cars down the river towards Hamburg. The road was blocked off and all these cars were going around the blockade and entering floodwaters to get around Granite Point. And oh my goodness, the last car that went into the water stalled. And we had our headlights on and we had not gone into the water. We were still talking about how it looked way too dangerous to be something that we would actually want to do. So that car went into the floodwaters and stalled, and we waited because we had headlights, and we thought, well, with our headlights, they can just come out of the floodwaters and we will help them. Give them a ride to wherever they need to go since their car is now stalled in the water. It looked like a pretty dangerous situation. We waited and waited and waited, and they never did come out of their car. So after a while, we got tired of waiting and decided to go call for help. At that time, we didn't have a cell phone, but never mind cell phones because they don't actually work on this highway. There's no cell phone service out here in the boonies. So we went into Horse Creek, and there's a payphone there. We called for the deputies to come out and help these people that had driven into floodwaters. We went back to the same place to see if these people had ever gotten out of their car, and when we got around to where we could see them, the car was still in the floodwaters, but also there was a deputy's car in the floodwaters. So I guess they went into the floodwaters and got stuck too. Felt pretty bad about that. I really did. But I thought I did what I needed to do because, when they first went into the floodwaters, we did wait for them and wait and wait and wait, but to no avail. They wouldn't get out. Anyhow, we were down in the church in Horse Creek for 2 nights. We could not get out. And the second night, they actually let me stay upstairs in their library instead of downstairs in the basement with everybody else. It was really cold down there. So the library was a much better place for me. I was so grateful. And the next day was a Sunday, and we went to church there. That was really beautiful. I would love to go back to that church. At the time that flood happened, I was not a Christian. That was 2005, and I didn't become a Christian until 2013. Anyhow, just thought you'd like to see a little bit of where I live. This is like the main road that goes from my hometown into the county seat of Yreka, California. And I have been listening to audiobooks. I just finished listening to Christy by Catherine Marshall. Beautiful story. I can see why there are some people who want to listen to it or read it year after year. It is a very nice story, and there's some philosophy in there. All very well done. It was originally published in 1967. And now I am listening to something completely different. It's a nonfiction book published this year called Hollywood Eden. It's about teenagers that were going to school at University High School in Santa Monica, such as Jan and Dean and Nancy Sinatra. And it's mentioning a lot of other people that you might recognize from the music industry. Fascinating, however, I don't know, not my favorite book ever, but it is interesting to hear. And good for a ride home. It is like a 2-hour drive. The way I drive it, I'm pretty slow. So it's a 2-hour drive, so having an audiobook to listen to is a great benefit. Okay, I think I've said enough for one day. Just wanted to get my camera out and make a video, hopefully, that I can just put on the web so you'll know I'm still out here, still reading, and I'll talk to you later.